and a very warm welcome to the Sky F1 Vodcast. And today I'm delighted to say we've got something of a Ferrari Legends special because we've got the former driver, Felipe Massa, from his home in Brazil. Hello, Felipe.
Hello, everybody.
We've got Rob Smedley, your former race engineer from his home in the UK. Hello, Rob.
Hi, everybody.
And Ted Kravitz alongside me. And later, Ted and I will be joined by former team principal, Stefano Domenicali. More of that very soon. But gentlemen, let's start with Felipe. How are you? How are you coping under lockdown?
Well, hello, Natalie. So it's good to be here with all of you. I'm sure it will be some very good entertainment history, that we can talk here. And well, it's okay. I mean, I am in Brazil, even if everybody's listening a lot from Brazil in this moment. But it's fine. I mean, I am at home, not living, but it's fine. It's okay, and just waiting the time to get back to Europe, to Monaco, and also hopefully racing again soon.
Rob, what about you? What are you? How are you passing the times in your new role as engineering guru to Formula One? And tell us about some of the other things that are going on with your karting program for kids.
Yeah, we're really busy, to be honest. I think I've been busier now in the lockdown than I've been outside of the lockdown. So Lucy, my wife, is a little bit upset because we're in my office now, and I spend practically from about 7:30 in the morning to about 9 o'clock on the night in here. So I'm not particularly adventurous. But yeah, we've got a lot going on in Formula One, trying to get Formula One back up and running. The electric karting stuff that we're doing for kids is really starting to take off now. That's going to be. I think that's going to be a brilliant initiative. It's something that I'm massively passionate about. Giving back to the sport, trying to reduce costs. It's what we exactly what Lewis made a call for on the Graham Norton show some weeks back or some months back. How do we reduce the barriers of entry? And I kind of view it from both ends. So it's kind of like from a Formula One point of view, where's all this rich seam of talent? Where is it all that we should be getting through? And then right down on the bottom end, giving more kids a chance. You know what I mean? I think you can give more kids a chance, and you can capture that talent. By doing it at reduced costs and better sporting equity. Hopefully we're going to see a better show up there at the top end in Formula One. So yeah, it's gone well, but I'm very busy, unfortunately.
And does that extend to selling those Felipe Massa helmets that you've got behind you? Felipe, if you're ever wondering where your helmets went, he's got them behind him in his bookshelf.
Well, no, I do sell these as originals. You can see I do sell them, but I mean, clearly, I just keep replacing them with the next set of fake ones that come in.
Well, so. I'm happy that he didn't sell. So maybe the orange one will get some more money, I guess.
Now, Rob, I know you're busy, but your tan suggests otherwise. You clearly have been getting outside a little bit.
It's not. It's just warm in here, Natalie. That's all it is.
Sure.
And it's like a glass. You can't see it, but like there's glass bifold doors there, so it's like a greenhouse in here. It's not a tan either, it's a red.
Sure. Listen, since we last spoke, a lot's happened obviously in the sport. Sebastian Vettel has left Ferrari. Let's get your reaction to that news, Felipe. Were you surprised?
Well, surprised? No. I mean, I think, you have a time, and definitely Sebastian is a driver that I really respect, maybe all of us. I mean, for everything that he did in his career, many champions that he managed to achieve, and many victories. And also for Ferrari, I would say, in my opinion, he did a very, very good job for Ferrari, winning many races, even fighting for championships. It's also true that he never had the car to win the championship, even if close, but not the quickest car as well. And I would say, is just arriving at the end of his contract, so they are not really carry on, on that. So it's not a surprise. I think he to stay in the team, he needs to be 100% sure that you want to stay, but the team as well. So I think he just arrived in the moment that they're just trying to have a different directions. So definitely, I'm not surprised on that. And now, if he will stay in Formula One or not is another question. So I think Sebastian is a driver or a guy that is always very focused on what he wants. And so I'm not even surprised that maybe he decided even to stop. So I think definitely in his position, so to stay, and I think he needs to find a team that gives to him the opportunity, or maybe the talks, or maybe the ideas that he's sure that, okay, maybe it's good to stay. Otherwise, not sure if he will stay.
So would you deem his time at Ferrari a success, even though he hasn't won the World Championship with them?
What I think is, what actually he did in terms of success, this is your question.
Yeah, because, no doubt he went there with the dream of taking the title with the Scuderia. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
So many people would say that his time there wasn't as successful as it could or should have been.
Well, you cannot forget that the last time Ferrari won the championship was in 2008, So it's true that many good drivers passing through the team and maybe was not able to win. Including after 2008, I was there, and we never had really the car or the team to win. Fernando, definitely, he made an incredible job, in 2010. He arrived really in the limit, fighting for the championship. But, to be honest, maybe the car was not also able to win on that year. He just did an amazing job, in my opinion, So I was also next to him. And all of the other drivers that is passing there, like Sebastian, Kimi, was not able to win because the team was not, completely perfect, to win the season. So it's not only related to Sebastian. Sebastian, for me, he did many great races. He won many races, so he fights, and he was always in front of his teammate, even a good teammate, a champion, like Kimi. So, and maybe last year things changed a little bit. It's true, we cannot really forget what Charlie did, because he's a driver that I'm watching him since maybe the karting, when he started to race in the cars, and he shows that he's really a big talent, and he shows that he can be a champion, or he can be a top driver in whatever team he races. So then definitely, Sebastian not suffered, but he had some pressure, inside, and maybe that also was some different decision that Ferrari took in front of them as well,
I think we can say, can't we, Natalie, that his time with Ferrari won, I think, 14 races. I think with the new point system, Rob, he's become, since you get 25 points for a win, I think Seb has become like the highest point scoring driver for Ferrari or something like that. Maybe it's not a fair comparison, but how did you see the way that it was done? Would Sebastian have liked to stay on and try to beat Charles with a car that suited his driving style that maybe Seb didn't have in the past?
Yeah, I think that, if everything was right, first of all, I agree with everything that Felipe has just said. I think I think Seb is a really good driver, and he's a really good character as well, and I think that it would be really wrong, when you know the sport, and the machinations of how the sport really works. It would be really wrong to say that Sebastian's time there wasn't a success. I think it was a great success. He had a lot of really high moments and dragged the team along at quite a few of the times. Did he want to stay? I don't know the ins and outs of the details. None of us do, apart from Sebastian and probably one or two of the very, very senior people in Ferrari. And I guess anybody who tells you different is lying. But just from the little bits and pieces of what I've heard, you know, I don't think that he probably was getting the contract that he wanted in terms of longevity, in terms of where the team was going to go, you know, that type of thing. And I think that for most of the drivers, they've got to feel that real synergy with the team. You know, they've got to feel really wanted and really part of it. I think a lot of us are like that. You know, when you're in a senior position in the teams, even the more senior non-driver team members, and you're putting your balls on the line every weekend for that team. You know, I think you want to feel wanted. It would be, you know, you've got a really strange supercomputer going on in your head if you just don't care whether the team wants you or not. So you want to feel wanted, and you want to feel that it's not just about being wanted. It's about making a contribution. You know, making a serious contribution. And perhaps, you know, with certain conversations that went on, he felt that he was no longer able to make the contribution that he was before, that he could have done before. Whether or not he felt wanted or not, I don't know. It's never about money. It's never ever about money for these guys. You know, you get to a certain point, and don't forget, most of them, you know, when we know them as you guys do anyway, they're just normal guys. You know, they don't have a stupid lifestyle, a ridiculous lifestyle where they need every single penny that they're earning to live. So the money becomes completely irrelevant after a while. You know, after you've made your first few big amounts of money. Terrible thing.
Ted feels exactly the same.
Yeah, Ted feels the same.
Hey, listen, when you can afford fake library wallpaper, then you got it made. You know, how much more do you need?
And that lamp in the background, Ted. I mean, that is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking charity shops. Nobody writing about charity shops. I love a charity shop, but that is definitely from a charity shop, Ted.
Quality charity shop. Yeah, exactly.
Rob, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because here's Vettel, who's won the third. He's the third highest Ferrari driver in terms of Grand Prix wins. He really immersed himself in the team. He learnt the language. Seemingly from the outside looking in, he did everything right. Why wouldn't they want him? Why would they want someone like Carlos Sainz over someone like a four-time world champion?
It's a difficult one, to be honest. You know, whether or not there was a financial situation, I don't know. You know, it's a really difficult one to answer. You know, maybe they feel that you know it's Charles's time now, and you know, Charles needs all the backing he can get. You know, he's the horse that they want to back, and they want to build everything around him. You know, given his age and given how long he's got, you know, maybe they felt that they've got to back one driver. You know, get out of the situation that they perhaps found themselves in a little bit last year, which happens when you've got two top drivers. It's inevitable when you've got two top drivers, they're going to clash. And you can't really blame them for that, you know, because they're both, if you've got two top drivers and they never clash, then they're both not pushing each other as hard as they can. If you take that Mercedes situation from some years back with Rosberg and Hamilton, it's because they were pushing each other so much. They were pushing each other weekend in, weekend out, and they're going to clash. But you know, the team's got to accept the good parts for the bad parts, and perhaps Ferrari just don't want to manage that. You know, perhaps they just feel they didn't want that. They wanted to back Charles, and bringing Carlos in would reset that.
Well, it's certainly a team that everyone wants to drive for. Felipe, tell us what it was like joining Ferrari. The race team, obviously, you had experience with. You were the test driver for a couple of years. You were loaned out to Sauber, but then coming in as the race driver. Everyone says it's so great to race for Ferrari. Apart from the great engineers you got handed, of course, why is it so great to drive for Ferrari? Is it the company cars they give you?
Oh, awesome. Well, actually, I would say company cars, yes and no, because you always have maybe not really the proper Ferrari. You know, sometimes you have like a Fiat. You know, sometimes you have a Alfa Romeo. You know, so it's not all the time that you are driving a Ferrari car. You know. What? And plus, sometimes it's a bit tricky because sometimes they give you a Ferrari and you have your family, it doesn't fit inside. You know, so it's not so easy on that as well.
You gave the Ferrari back.
But no, I mean, it's a joke. But definitely it's different. You know, driving for Ferrari is completely different than not on the working. On the working is the same. I mean, you're driving a car, you're working with the engineers. The way of working is similar. I would say in whatever team you go, especially in the top team. You know, but it's different because it's like a religion. You know, so you get inside the team and you know that you are inside something completely different. So the people really loves you more. So you have a lot more pressure. You have everybody's talking about you, for good, for bad, doesn't matter, you know, but you really inside the picture, you know, inside the religion. You know, even if you're winning or if you're not winning, you know, it's similar at the end, you know, because if you're winning, you have a massive pressure because you need to keep winning. You need to, you know, keep giving the results. But if you're not winning, you keep the massive pressure because you're not winning. And people invent a lot of things as well. It's not only something that you're really doing, something that is really real, but something that is not happening and you are in the page. So the team has more pressure than all of the other teams because for whatever reason, you know, the media is always participating more as well. But not only the media, but I think, you know, you have the fans, you have the people that is really, you know, expecting a lot, you know, and so I have to say it's different. Everything is different in the best way, in the good way, and also in the difficult way, you know. But it's so special. I mean, it's really special to be part of that team. I mean, it's so nice to be, you know, it's something that, I mean, you are Ferrari driver and then, you know, your time is passing. You're not driving for Ferrari anymore. You're driving another team or whatever. You're always a Ferrari driver. And this is something that is not happening in another team, you know. He's not only a driver, but I mean, also maybe Rob can answer for also his feeling, you know, as an engineer, but also as somebody that has been working, you know, for Ferrari. So you get inside the blood, and is different than the other team. This is really, really special in that way.
It's funny, Rob, because I remember arriving at Monza one practice day at the same time as you, and you were swamped. I was like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? They almost like carried you out on their shoulders. It's astonishing. You are so much a part of the fabric of Italian society. I always think there are plenty of football clubs.
Thanks to his driver, no?
All down to you, Felipe. It's funny because there are plenty of football clubs in Italy, but there's only one Ferrari. So Felipe talked there about the romance of it and just how special it is. But as he alluded to, with that comes a lot of pressure as well. How did you find it from the inside?
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge amount of pressure, but it's I think, you know, you've just learned to live with it. You've always got that. I always, like, you know, I always say if you can work at Ferrari and withstand the stress and the pressure there, everything else, you know, you'll never ever get that anywhere else. I wouldn't have thought you could, you know, it'd be difficult to recreate that anywhere. My wife always, she finds it amusing because she says I can, you know, with work related. I mean, with the kids, I'm very stressed. I'm literally stressed all the time. I'm not really, but I mean, with work stuff, I mean, nothing ever phases me. I think I've always been like that a little bit, but Ferrari just helped you to build this massive residual amount of like being able to withstand stress. Just because it's just always there. It's always there 24 hours a day. And the more senior, you know, you become, the more it is. But I think, you know, it is that's the, I don't even know whether it's a downside. I never really saw it as a downside. I mean, sometimes it gets a little bit negative and sometimes it's like, you know, give me a break kind of thing. But a lot of the time I found that I could really thrive on that pressure. And you know, when it's positive and it's pushing and we're all like in the same boat together, then it can be fantastic. I think it's like Felipe says, you know, you're always, you know, those of us that have withstood the test of time at Ferrari, you know, a long time there, Ferrari will always be part of your heart. And like, you know, what you said then, Nat, like when I go back to Monza or any other circuit, you know what I mean? And and I'm 2 Formula One jobs on now. And you always get such a warm reception of you, and the pictures that they've got of you are always of like of me like dressed in red, and they always say when you kind of come back, and will you come back, and it's nice. It's just really, really nice. It's really, really special.
Where does that pressure come from then? Is it the press? Is it the management? Is it yourself? Because you know the very high standards that they set for you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's a standard because it's not a team where, if you get a point, or if you get like a 3rd place or whatever, it's seen as success. It's winning races and winning world championships, and that's the measure of success. And it should be in a team of that size. And it doesn't let itself forget it as well. So it never wants to settle for second best. So that builds the pressure. And even when you're winning, you've still got that pressure. It's like Felipe said, even when you're winning, I can remember years like 2004 is a great year. We had probably the best Formula One car ever. And we were just smashing it weekend in, weekend out. But we would get back to the factory, and if we weren't 1-2 on the Sunday, we would get back at 9 o'clock on the Monday morning. And it was 9 o'clock that we were in there, regardless of, how well we'd done. If we were back in Europe, 9 o'clock in the factory for the debrief. And, there was a sense that we'd failed in the mission because we weren't 1-2. And I think that's you create your own pressure. But then, of course, you've got the fact that what we just talked about, it's a national institution. There's not a football team in Italy that is seen as a national institution. There's not a football team anywhere in the world. And certainly the Formula One teams here in the UK, they're not a national institution. They've got their fan base, and the drivers have got a bigger following than the teams. In Ferrari, it's an absolute national institution. It's a religion. So you've got the pressure of, you've got the fact that you're constantly in this fishbowl, being with all the eyes of Italy, looking on you and seeing how you've done. And yeah, but with that, it's nice as well, because you do get a lot of support. I can remember just in Maranello, just wandering around, and people were just always really, really nice. Always really, really nice. Apart from when we didn't win. If it was the Monday after we hadn't won, then there used to be a little bit of spitting that went on.
That was the great, that's the passion. That's the passion. But you two developed such a great relationship together, and working relationship, personal relationship as well. But I'm interested what you both thought of each other when you first met each other. I mean, Felipe, this guy comes in, he'd been working at Jordan before. He had hair down across his face. He looked like some extra member of Oasis or the Stone Roses, Manchester. All right, Felipe, how are you doing? What did you make of this guy when he came in?
Well, actually, I met him in Jordan because because I was racing for Sauber, and then I lost my seat, in 2002. Actually, to be honest, I never feel so fair, to lose that seat, because I was always very quick. I finished many races like sixth position, 5th, maybe 3 races I finished 7th, many top 10s, but the points was only in the top 6, in that year. And but I was crashing a little bit too much, and Peter Sauber didn't like so much to see his car in the wall. So actually, I lost my seat in the middle of the year, and actually I was talking to Ferrari, because I was also already a Ferrari driver. So I was talking to Ferrari to be test driver. But then I started to Eddie Jordan wants me on his team. He was calling me every day, and then I went to the team, to Jordan, to make my seat. And Rob was Giancarlo's Fisichella's engineer. And actually, he helped me to do my seat, so we were like spend all day together there. So actually, I met him there. And then, I keep talking every day, with Eddie Jordan. I said, you're gonna be my team. Don't worry, you're gonna be my team. And we were even talking with a sponsor in Brazil, like a Petrobras, for the oil side. That he was a very small sponsor that could give some help. And then suddenly one day I opened my computer and I saw in the internet that Ralph Furman signs for Jordan. And then, all right, it didn't work. So I was Ferrari test driver. And actually, they had a terrible car, Jordan, the year after. And so most of the times that I see Eddie Jordan, I say, thank you very much not to get me on your team. because it was really a good help not to be racing on that car for sure. So actually, I met Rob on that day, and actually after he became engineer, like on the testing team for Ferrari, which actually also on that time, testing team was maybe sometimes even bigger than the racing team, you know, because they were testing like maybe every day, like 3 days a week, at least, you know, in almost every week. And so then I moved back to Sauber, 2004, 2005. It was actually when Rob arrived in the Ferrari. And then after I had the chance to race for Ferrari in 2006, so I did maybe 4 races, you know, with the Ferrari, and I didn't get along so well, you know, with the engineer I had. He was pretty good, actually, but I mean, it didn't really match, you know, together like you know, it needs to be, you know, in the team. And I didn't have the result I expected in the first 4 races in Ferrari. And then I knew Rob already quite a bit because we did some testing together before that. And then I spoke to Ross, and Ross was also quite keen to bring Rob as the main engineer. So I was happy because I mean, we did some work together. And then everything started afterwards. And actually, my first race was my first podium. Actually, our first race together was actually my first podium in the Nürburgring. Yeah, Nürburgring, maybe race 5 or something like that. And
you had magnificent highs and some terrible lows together. I mean, Rob, I remember you telling me that Felipe's accident in 2009 was one of the worst days of your life. And, you know, terrible for you have to go through together, but surely brought you closer in the long run. How important is that trust, that respect that you have between an engineer and a driver? And presumably it can really make a career for both of you on both sides.
Yeah, the trust is everything, I think. I would say, if anything, more from the driver to his engineer, and therefore, you know, I think that with Felipe, I trusted him very early on. I mean, I was actually the one, that story that you was telling you about Eddie Jordan, I was the one that was always on to Eddie during that first year, saying, "Oh, this kid's really, really quick. I mean, we should be having a look at him." And then, you know, we did, and then it didn't come to anything. And I think he's been forever grateful that he didn't get that gig, because it went on to slightly better things. But you know, so it was always clear to me with Felipe that he was super quick. So I always had that trust in him that you know, he would always deliver if we could get the car right. But I think that my job, especially at the beginning, was to let him trust me, you know, and to build up the relationship that just worked. I mean, that's why we were together so long as race engineer and driver, because it just worked so well. I mean, we knew we knew what each other's roles were, and we relied on each other. You know what I mean? And that blurred line, that blurred bit in the middle where you kind of intersect, we weren't precious about it. You know, you sometimes see, I see it now, you know, from the outside with race engineers and drivers, that sometimes one can get a little bit precious about, you know, their territory in the middle. And I don't think either of us were ever very precious. We were kind of just like, yeah, if you know, you're right about that, and I'm right about that, and therefore let's just do the right thing and get the right compromise. But I think the point is trust is everything. If you don't have that trust, and you can't trust each other implicitly, then it'll never work.
Which actually brings me quite nicely to the story about the memorabilia behind you, about the trophy. Can you tell us that story? That was about trust.
He was involved, in fact. So that one there, what I was telling you, so that one there, look, this is, it's like I've done this before, right? So that one there is the Drivers' World Championship. I'm going to get up in a minute and you can see my shorts. They haven't been washed for about 2 weeks. But that's another secret, I don't really care. So that one there, no, it's true, they haven't been washed for about 2 weeks. I'm going to show you. They're pretty cool. And that one there, let me have a look. Hang on. I'm going to come up with a camera shot. Yeah.
Very nice.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right. Get on with it. Come on.
JW
All
Marriott.
right, it's enough.
Other,
It's enough.
other hotel chains can be used, by the way.
Come on. Get on with the story.
So,
Hello,
that one there is from, here he is.
There he is.
Robert, behave. Ciao, Ferry.
Here,
Ciao, Stefano.
No, Steph.
How are you?
Ciao, very good. Great to see you all. Thanks to Natalie that was able to do that. Ciao, ciao, Ferry, too.
Ciao, Stefano.
So, Stefano, Rob's just telling us a story about his trophy.
Well, it's one of the trophies. It's one of the trophies. So this one here is the 2006 German Grand Prix. So it was when we chose the tyres. So we chose the tyres on the, we had to choose the tyres on the Friday night.
Yes.
And we tested a compound on the Friday with Felipe, and it had some graining, but because of we kind of did some calculations as how the track was going to rubber in, and we said no, it's not going to grain, so it's really, really fast and it won't grain. And Michael was really against it. Michael said, no, we can't use that tyre. That tyre is going to fall apart in the race. And what do you know? You're only about 12 years old and you don't know what you're talking
Which
about.
race was it? Sorry.
I think it was Germany 2006.
Feli, he's relying on the fact that we don't remember, so I'm sure that it's right.
No, I remember also that Budapest was also a massive graining, but I don't remember.
No, but Budapest was rear
Budapest.
graining. Budapest was rear graining, and this was front graining. So we said, and I can't remember the name of the compound, but we said, no, that's going to be the compound. So we did some calculations the other night. We said, that's going to be the compound. Anyway, in the end, Ross backed what I was saying. So I said, look, we've done all the work with Felipe, and that's going to be it. So Ross Braun said, all right, well, the engineers have done the work. Michael, we're going to go with their recommendation. So Michael got a little bit nervous about it and a little bit upset about it. Anyway, in the end, it's not a particularly exciting story. We won the race by a long, long way. And then at the end, Michael brought the champagne bottle and said, I think this is yours. And I said, okay. It was empty, by the way, that was the downside.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rob. Now, listen, I know you've got to go. You're 3 minutes late for your next meeting. It's back to back for you, isn't it?
He's always back to back here. Unfortunately, with this new Zoom way of working is incredible because you're always connected to a video that for me is difficult because I would like to be physical, but that's the way it is. So
It's nice to see Stefano here in the social network, here in the electronic stuff online. That's really good for you, Stefano.
Feli, I've got my wife Sylvia that is always showing, look Feli what he's doing because she's following Feli, and so sometimes while we are at home, I just watch what he's doing. That is incredible because it's amazing. Grande Feli.
So when was the last time you three saw each other?
We speak frequently on the phone, but to see, let's say, face to face.
It was in the FIA meeting.
Correct. We were together in the World Council. While Rob, we were together in, actually
in your office. Yeah.
In my office. Yeah.
Towards the end of last year, and then
meeting with our previous team that is not very far from here, so we had the chance to see each other.
And Stefano, what were these two like as a pair?
Very good.
Very good. Very good. I cannot complain. Dangerous sometimes, but was really good.
Dangerous. Come on, expand on that. What do you mean?
No, but you know that with Felipe, for me is I'm not disrespectful or is my little brother, if I may say, because I had an incredible relationship. The first day that we met in Jean's home, I remember even the place where he was seated, and so then we had an incredible,
2001.
Together. 2001, yes. And with Rob, I remember when he was coming. I cannot say everything, but when he was coming from a yellow team with us. And I remember when he was in the test team and then had an incredible career up to race engineering. And now, he's with Liberty. Now he's working as an entrepreneur. So
And listen, Rob, before you go, just tell us, how competitive do you think, in your role with Formula One, the Ferrari will be next year? Or at least at the end of this year as well, when we get racing again? You must
it's difficult. I mean, I know that they were not happy with the testing results. I mean, when we had a look at it, it didn't look. We did some analysis in Formula One. It certainly didn't look as bad as what was being said. But you know, I mean, however competitive they are, they've always got this incredible competitor. At least for the next. For the rest of 2020 and into 21 in Mercedes, and then when the rules change, we'll see. But you know, I hope, you know, I'm a huge Ferrari fan. You know, as regardless of where I am professionally or whatever I'm doing, I'm always a massive Ferrari fan. So I really hope that they can, you know, they can take the fight to Mercedes and Red Bull.
And can we ever see a return for you with a team in Formula One?
With the team or a team?
With a team.
With a team, yeah, for sure. I mean, at the minute, I'm kind of enjoying what I'm doing. You know, I've got, there's still a lot that I want to do, especially with the stuff that we were talking about before, with giving something back for the kids in electric karts. And grassroots motorsport, and having that view of the grassroots, but also being able to view it from the top down. I think that's really important, you know, working with the FIA, working with the governing bodies, trying to do that. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the stuff that I'm doing with Formula One, with Liberty. Again, it's something, you know, where you can give a little bit of my experience to help things along. But, you know, I never say never. Never say never. It's got to be the right opportunity. You know, some opportunities have been and they weren't the right opportunity. So it's got to be the right opportunity. It's got to be the right time. And then, yeah, of course, you know, we'll see whether there's unfinished business or not.
Great stuff. Well, we need to let you go, but thank you so much for your time, and nice to get the old teammates back together, even just for a 5-minute Zoom chat.
Thanks,
Rob. You can go back to the Fortnite now.
Ciao, Robby.
Ciao, Steph. Ti chiamo dopo perché devo chiamarti finalmente.
It's up to you. You know my number.
Yeah, I know. I'm 24 hours.
You forgot your Italian, man. You forgot your Italian.
Just showing up now.
Ciao, Robby.
His
See you later. Bye-bye.
accent's pretty good. Rob's Italian accent's pretty good, actually, Stefano. Did he develop the good accent when he was at Maranello?
No, I have to say that Feli knows very well, but at the end we were talking in Italian. Huh?
Yeah. So he speaks good. I was joking with him, but he has a good Italian.
His kids, you know, they are talking now. I don't know, because back to, you know, UK, maybe they have lost a little bit, but they were born in Italy, so I remember they were talking Italian for sure. Now maybe with a little bit of warm up session, they're gonna be fluent back again. Eh?
It's interesting because it's a simple thing, but it does make a big difference when English speaking or Brazilian actually do immerse themselves enough to learn the language and connect with everybody else in the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because at least you understand all the different details that is within the language, or the way of body moving, you know, and posture, or understanding the body language that is different from country to country. And for sure it's you know, with Rob was really,
well, especially in Italy, it makes a big effect, you know, if you speaking the Italian language. I think also for not only for the people you're working, if they are Italian, but also the fans, also the people, they really, you know, it touched them, you know, and I think that's quite important, especially in Italy, actually.
yeah.
And obviously, when I said Brazilian, I meant Portuguese.
Yeah.
Brazilian language.
You know what I meant.
Yeah.
No, Ted.
Yeah, no, Stefano. I mean, I'm completely transfixed by the Lambo Huracan on the back of your wall. I mean, what a job that is to go from. And your CV, Stefano, has been amazing. Starting out as the as working at the Imola circuit, working for Ferrari, being Ferrari sporting director, team manager, team principal, and having so much success there with Felipe, with Michael as well, alongside Jean Todt and Ross. And now, tell us where you are now and what's in the plans for Lamborghini. I can't take my eyes off that car behind you.
I mean, first of all, as soon as the borders will be back to be normal, you have an open invitation, to see who we are and where we are, because we are very close to Bologna. So it's, I would say now it's quite interesting because we had a big growth in the last couple of years. We moved, in 3 years, quite significantly. Now we are, at the end of last year, we were selling more than 8,200 cars with a good level of return on sale and return on investment. So it is a great journey. And I have to say that I'm very lucky and privileged to have this position because, for an Italian who was born in Imola, that was in Ferrari, his dream company, and then now in Lamborghini is something really unique. So sometimes, I think that is not real, but it is. So I'm sharing with friends and brothers like Felipe these moments, and I'm very happy for that because, above all, it's a matter of trying to bring the same enthusiasm, the same kind of approach in a, let's say, industrial atmosphere. We were pretty lucky to leave the sport side of a business that was, and it is, very competitive. But this kind of feeling is something that, I try to bring also in this company that is different in terms of dimension, in terms of objective. But, people are people. And the way to stay together is, for me, very, very relevant.
As Ted touched on, you were with Ferrari for 23 years in various roles. We talked before you joined the conversation just about the sort of sense of social responsibility when you work for Ferrari. Obviously, they've been in the news a lot lately with Sebastian leaving and Carlos joining. With all that knowledge and passion that you clearly have for Ferrari, how do you think Carlos Sainz will cope? And will he thrive there? And is he the right fit for the team?
Well, of course, you're saying social responsibility, that is correct. And also, I have to be very responsible in respecting the decision that Mattia and the team has taken. So it will be inappropriate, not because I don't want to answer, to say something because it would be immediately reported as a sign of intrusion, of someone that knows very well, at least knew very well, the Ferrari world, and would be wrong. For sure, I think that it is something that as a driver, and Felipe can say that very well, because you can see a certain kind of similarity with the experience of Felipe, as to understand what is the role of a driver that is joining a team where there is a lot of focus on shop. And this is for sure the most important thing that it is important to manage since the beginning. But we don't have to forget that there is still 1 year to come. It's still 1 year for Carlos to play in a team that has an important year in front of them, because as you know, in this moment, the general situation is difficult, so they need to have a great result, and I'm sure that he's totally committed. Therefore, it will be really wrong to say something on top of saying best of luck to Carlos. It seems that he's very mature, very strong. I said one thing, to be, a Sona world champion, to do the same business, more or less, rally or whatever it is, he's a world champion. Try to be in the same world, a very high competitive business, and to be in Formula One and to be chosen by Ferrari means that, he's solid. Then now he has to perform, he has to show who is in, knowing that the relationship with the team and with the other drivers, Charles, is vital for his success. But once again, 1 year in front of him is still a long way to go, if they will start as we all know.
No, it's true, isn't it? And Felipe, I wonder where you see Carlos in his career. Is it a different place than Daniel, for example, Ricciardo, or Ricciardo, as I feel that we should say? Ricciardo is ready to win a championship, but maybe Ferrari wanted somebody who wasn't at that point yet. Do you think that's fair to say, the reason they chose Carlos?
Well, I think what is fair to say, I mean, a part of negotiation, a part of the decisions, is something that is, especially in Formula One, is very close. So only the drivers, the teams, they understand, what's happened with Sebastian and, the possibility to stay or not in Ferrari. So this, we don't know, we just think, we just have that opinion in our mind. But I mean, I don't know exactly anything on the contract, on the proposal. So this is something that is very close in Formula One, but I mean, everybody expected maybe that Ricciardo was maybe the most, famous name on this moment, like a driver that could go to Ferrari, could really race for Ferrari, after the decision of Ferrari and Sebastian, to stop. I mean, not stop, but I mean, not carry on, with the contract. So what I can say is that I also expect maybe Ricciardo to be maybe the Ferrari driver, because I mean, everybody's thinking about, Ricciardo will be the guy, but I think we need to respect the decision, of Mattia, of the team, to get Carlos. And for me, Carlos shows that he has the talent, so on his first year in Formula One, I think if you really get back and trying to see all the race, I mean, I think they were very close, him and Verstappen, So for me, he really shows that, I mean, he has the speed, he has the talent. He works really a lot. He's a big worker, in the physical way, but also in the team. So, and I think he grew a lot on his career. And for me, last year, he did a really fantastic season, for McLaren. So by also showing that, I mean, he has the experience, so he has the capacity, to give what the team wants. Definitely, I mean, as Stefano said now, him in Ferrari, the positive thing is that, I mean, sometimes it's nice to say that the Ferrari is really, investing, in the not young, but I mean, in the driver that, I mean, is coming from not a top team, with the winning race or with the result, but also believing, in the driver. I think this is a good opportunity. This is nice to see in the sport, but also now we need to see. He needs to show what he's able to do. It depends of what Stefano said. Now it will depend from what he will show to the team. To get along with the team in the right way and to show what he can do for the team. It's true that, I mean, he has a very talented, amazing teammate, which is Charles. And Charles is definitely the future champion name, in Formula One. Maybe even present. But, I mean, I'm not sure if he will have the right car to win the championship this year. But anyway, I think he's a future champion. So, but I think we are in the situation that, I mean, Ferrari needs two good drivers, because I mean, the championship is not only the driver, it's also the team. And, and for me, it's important that, I mean, Ferrari has the two drivers that they can really do a perfect job, to put the points in, but also to put the team in the position to win the both championship, not only one. And I think that's really, let's see how we work with these two drivers together, but I think it can work well. Yes.
Yeah, interesting, because Carlos is certainly very tenacious, and as you say, he's got the speed. Now, Stefano, just to change gears slightly, we just wanted to hear your thoughts on the cost cap. Obviously, you came in to Ferrari as team principal at a time when they were looking to reduce costs. It's something that we've talked about for many, many years. How do you think Ferrari will be feeling about the cost cap? Do you think there's a sense of sacrifice on their part, that they're doing it for the greater good of the sport, or a recognition that the sport does indeed need smaller teams and it's about being collaborative and working together for a wider solution?
I think, for what I can see, that was exactly the approach that Ferrari seems to have. Because, as you can imagine, not only for Ferrari, but for the biggest organization, to go down dramatically with cost is something that is not easy to achieve, above all in the short term. And we don't have to forget that Ferrari, like Mercedes, for example, are having, a structure that is there for the engine or the powertrain side too. So it's quite big. And as far as I can understand now, it seems they found an agreement to go to a path of decreasing the cost that was imperative in this moment. I think that what has been shown, as I said, not only by Ferrari, but also from Mercedes and also from Red Bull, is the way to do, because there was no other alternative. And Ferrari didn't want for sure to be alone in a situation that was not possible to defend in this moment, where everyone needs to do something to find a solution globally, because the situation is still very complex in that respect. We really hope that everyone can pass through this year, because this is a crucial year. And for what I can see, I think that Liberty and FIA are doing really an amazing job to make sure that there is a vision after this big thunderstorm that is hitting, our world. And the motorsport, is heated not only in Formula One, but if we see all the other categories and all the other series, you can imagine that the magnitude of this situation is even more disastrous. So I think that going back to the comment, to the question, Natalie, I think that Ferrari took the right decision to follow that direction, even if I remember my time was not easy to digest at the beginning.
Yeah, I remember that time very well. It was called resource restriction at the time, wasn't it?
RRA.
And FOTA and all of that. But I mean, what would your hope be that, because they're also playing around with aerodynamic handicaps. If you're the world champion, you get less time in the wind tunnel per week. It's almost like a sort of handicap system on racing horses. But what would your hope, Stefano and Felipe, be that we can get back to a time in the sort of early 2000s, maybe the late 1990s, when 4 or 5 teams, 6 teams had a chance of being on the podium and winning?
Well, in my opinion, Ted, I think that we don't have to forget that cycles in Formula One has been always there. You remember the cycle of Williams, of McLaren, of course, of Lotus, Ferrari, Mercedes, that's part of the game. What, in my view, has to be very clear in the future is that the focus should be on the entertainment side, where the drivers are really the key differentiators. We need, this is my humble opinion, we need to see really drivers that are fighting with the possibility to fight between themselves. In a context where also to explain to the people what is happening is not too complicated. Yeah. The more we go versus a complicated way of managing, the regulation, the more is difficult, above all in this moment, to have young generation to be fully dedicated to this. So, as far as understood, it seems that we are heading versus, regulation that will put at the center, at the end of the day, the driver skill and the driver behavior. In my view, this is a crucial point on which, in the future, young generation, Generation Z, wants to see their heroes fighting. And I would say, maybe what is different from the past is that there will be even more focus on them rather than to the brands.
Yeah. And Felipe,
I think just to complete, I mean, definitely what everybody wants to see is the drivers compete. I mean, what everybody wants to see is more competition between the teams and more people able to win. And this is definitely what everybody is trying for years, in Formula One. And it was never so easy, to arrive in the moment, in the situation that, I mean, you have more than 2 teams fighting for the victory. And I think that's maybe it's also a question, I think maybe that's, do you think even Stefano, after this pandemic, after this problem, because I mean, I'm not in your position and also the position of, somebody that is leading a manufacturer, company. But I can imagine that in this moment, it is a very difficult situation because, I mean, most of the people is not even leaving home. So how are you going to buy a car, if you're not living, able to really to get outside of your house. So I'm sure the situation is really difficult for many, many, many companies, but also in this cars manufacturer, side, So do you think maybe this is also the point? Maybe we're trying for years, that, but do you think maybe this is the point? So this is the time. This is the time to really trying to, change the mentality, for a better future. actually, you know.
It's 4-star hand.
Well, it's clear that today there is, as always, in this situation, a big opportunity to, in any case, find a way to change something. As Felipe said, it's not easy at all, because otherwise, with so many people involved, with so many years of discussion, if it would have been easy, you know, the right solution would have been already presented. But in this moment, we don't have to forget one thing. In a moment of emergency, there are Formula 1 has to consider two things. One is the situation related to the, I would say, protagonists, teams, drivers. Within the teams, there are manufacturers that have bigger issues, bigger problems. So if there is no strategy or a vision for the future, they need to understand how to pass through this moment. If there's no strategy for the future that is sustainable, you know, it's easy for the manufacturer to, let's say, to switch off the light. For the teams, it's vital for them to stay alive. So it's important these relationships should be strong. But on the other hand, we don't have to forget that without the organizer of the Grand Prix, without the television, without the public that will be involved in the event, there will be no future. So everyone has to take its consideration. We are focusing only in this moment of the regulation, that is for sure very, very important. But we do not to forget that without people, public, a new way of connecting, or you know,
we race for them, actually.
Absolutely, you know, and in this moment when the only choice that is totally right that Liberty of the FIA have taken to race with no public up to the moment where there will be once again the possibility, this has to be the appetizer for the people to wish to come back as soon as possible, because it's like, maybe here, you know, you will not agree with me. You know, I see a lot of enthusiasm on you know, in these simulators and so on. It is fantastic, but this has to be the appetizers to really wish to go back to real cars, to the physicality of the cars, to the physicality of the smell of what are you burning or what you're using, because at the end of the day, this is the way that we live together. And this will be fantastic, and this is all what we are doing also in Lamborghini, but we don't have to forget the focus on the real product that we need to sell. Otherwise, we're gonna have problems in the future.
Are you optimistic about the future of this sport, Stefano?
Yes. By the way, I'm always optimistic, also because being negative, it doesn't help. It will be even worse, as Albert Einstein was saying. But, you know, I'm positive because there are the right you know, enthusiasm, and above all, everyone has an interest to make sure that this business will stay alive. And if you look at the numbers that was there up to, let's say, before the start of this world crisis, you know, the signal were very, very strong. And therefore, we need to start from that, building the infrastructure and the fund and the foundation for a better future.
And would you ever come back to Formula One?
To watch the race? Yeah, of course. I'm in the World Council. And I really looking forward to see, hopefully Monza. I don't know if they will be able to have a race with the public. For sure, I will come.
Ted, I think you'll agree with me that there's two big holes in the paddock in the shape of Felipe Massa and Stefano Domenicali. What do you think?
Yeah, well, the thing about their relationship, and I'm interested, you know, Stefano. I mean, obviously, it was you shared so many great times with Felipe, with Michael, with Rob, and everybody at Ferrari. But what do you remember most? Things I remember, whatever the race was, I used to come and see you on the pit wall, and if it was a brilliant race, or even if it was a disappointing race, you always kept a perspective, and you always supported your people within Ferrari. That was so important for you, Stefano. What were your memories? A memory that sticks out about Felipe particularly, because he had that same personal touch with everyone in the team.
Felipe, I always said that for me, on top of he's really a little brother, and he's a great man. He's a world champion, in my opinion. But that's something that that is for me something, as a sportsman, he needs to remember, even if, he doesn't have the trophy there, but he's there as a behavior and as a talent, because everyone was always saying about Felipe, but Felipe was a very fast driver. And it is, but I was talking about my experience. We had so many great moments. We had also very difficult moments together. and I will never forget the Hungarian experience, because that was something that, this is between us, but it was really something unique. But I also have, I have no problem to say that, incredible lesson learned from Felipe after the Brazilian race. The way that he behaved after that race, 2008, is something that really, something that I want to show to all the guys that are doing sports. Because the way that he was so proud to be on the podium in a race that he deserved, in a race that was very strange, very particular for, and I'm not talking about anything special, I'm just talking about very hectic and so on. But he went on the podium with such a pride to be sharing with the team the title of world champion as a constructor, but having the biggest, defeat as a driver, after being, the winner, and never happened in the history of Formula One. And I remember I was on the radio to speak with the guys close to his family in this moment. So I will not forget. As I will not forget the way that he accepted the very difficult decision in Germany, 2010. I remember everything, but that's why I believe that Felipe is a great man, because he always had a great interpretation of what is a fast driver and a great man. And you don't find so many guys like him in such a prominent position of a sport. So really, I always said to him, I don't have to make any kind of advertisement. There's no need for that. But really, I think that unfortunately, he didn't collect all what he would have deserved from the sporting point, but he has collected the respect of everyone in the world of motorsport, and not only that.
Hear, hear. Well, Felipe, I've got goosebumps listening to that. How on earth did you process all those emotions at the time back in 2008?
Well, actually, I mean, you just try to do what you feel. First of all, thanks, Stefano, for the nice words. It's always a bit emotional, to hear that, especially for somebody that I really, is inside my heart. As a brother, but also as somebody that shares a lot of history, from your life, from your past, from your difficult times, good, amazing times, amazing moments as well. And Stefano, is somebody that I learn a lot with him. We passed through difficult but also great times together, and it's clear and it's true to say that, I mean, he has such a incredible way of working, with the people. Doesn't matter of which level, inside the team, but I mean, he knows, and he's very close to everybody. He really a guy that he wants to be together, wants to understand what all of the people are thinking, to help, to move forward, to try to give the result that the people want, not only on the working, but also in the normal life, And I have to say that I'm also happy to be, to be part of Stefano's growing, because I mean, I met him, he was really young, and then we worked together until I left the team, but also until that, I mean, he was the team principal, and really showing that he's a really great man and a great professional in all of the different areas. 2008, I mean, I just tried to do what I was thinking, So as I always said, I mean, what helped me definitely was the victory, the perfect weekend that I did, So definitely, as Stefano knows, we didn't lose the championship in Interlagos. I mean, we lost before, and we have many races. For sure, races that I have a problem in the car is something that it can happen. Races that maybe you have some mistakes is something that is part of, that nobody is doing all of the race without a single mistake. But races that maybe like Singapore is something that maybe is the only point that I still cannot accept in this moment, But yes, in Interlagos, it's just everything went perfect. I mean, we fight like not many people could fight, and that's really, gave me all of that, feeling that, I need to show the people what I'm feeling, and that also came from all of that, things that it happens, in this way. So.
Well, that is wonderful. I tell you what, some life lessons for us all in there. A huge thank you from Ted and I to you both for your time. Lovely to share some memories again and to reconnect after what feels like many months being apart. So thank you very much, Stefano. And
thanks, Natalie. Thanks, Ted. Ciao, Feli. Ci sentiamo al telefono.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Steph,
Ciao.
Natalie,
Ciao.
Ted. It was great to be here.
Yes, the same from me.
Thank
Ciao.
you. Thanks.
Ciao. Right, before we go, an update on the news that's broken over the last 24 hours at McLaren. Craig Slater is at the MTC. Craig, what can you tell us?
Yes, well, this news that broke yesterday has cast a cloud over this team somewhat on the day when they were resuming factory operations after the enforced and extended shutdown due to the coronavirus pandemic. However, the F1 sector of McLaren has got off rather more lightly in terms of redundancies. 1,200 redundancies across the three arms of the business: McLaren Applied Technologies, McLaren Automotive and the F1 team, but only 70 within the racing team itself. And those not driven so much by the coronavirus issue, but rather the cost cap, which is due to be ratified by the World Motorsport Council. In actual fact, today, that will see teams have a spending limit of $145 million per year, dropping to $135 million after a number of years as well. So that will mean that the bigger operations, the likes of McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, will either have to reallocate staff to other arms of the business, or perhaps incur job losses, as McLaren have now notified that they're about to do. But the bigger picture, I suppose, is that even if there will be short-term pain and this tight-knit operation will be saddened by any job loss, but the bigger picture is that the cost cap coming in should guarantee the future sustainability of the sport. Spending had spiraled in recent seasons, and the coronavirus pandemic put it on the brink of a precipice in financial terms. So perhaps now sustainability guaranteed, and the future of all 10 teams now looking rather safer.
So what does this tell us about the current health of UK motorsport?
Well, we've heard an awful lot, haven't we, on these Sky Sports F1 programmes recently about how Formula One racing has a direct influence on the motorsport industry in the UK, and how this pandemic at the moment could have significant consequences. And now we have a concrete example: McLaren Automotive, a runaway success story, it has to be said. It's been in profit in all 10 years of its existence. It's a market leader. It employs some of Britain's finest performance engineers, and 85% of the world's performance engineers, I hasten to add, are based in this country. It's why 7 of the 10 Formula One teams are also supported with all that expertise. So yes, it's a sign that it is all interlinked in a sense, and it'll be further impetus to the argument of Stuart Pringle, the Silverstone managing director, that there are economic drivers for getting that race actually happening this summer, that it is the standard bearer for motorsport in the UK, and for all that engineering expertise. We know that Formula One, Chase Carey and the rest of his team have broached the importance of the British Grand Prix directly with Prime Minister Boris Johnson. We understand from sources in government that he is doing what he can to explore the possibility of an exemption to that 14-day quarantine, which would pose significant problems to Silverstone actually happening this summer. So we're looking at positive developments on that front for at least one race, potentially 2 still, at Silverstone this summer, maybe in late July, more likely now, as it seems to be, during the course of August.
Okay, well, thank you, Craig. Make sure you stay across all of Sky's digital platforms and Sky Sports News for any updates on that news coming from McLaren. All that leaves me to say is a big thank you to Ted Kravitz. Thank you for your company, Ted.
Thanks, Nats. See you soon.
And Simon will be back with another vodcast on Friday. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.